Hello and welcome back to Kuri K9 Massage's blog video interview series. And today I have with me Animal Communicator Marybeth. Marybeth, hi, welcome.
Hey Reagan, it's so great to be here. I've been looking forward to this for a while,
Me,
so
me
glad
too.
we're here together.
Now, to start off, please tell me a bit about yourself and how you came to be an animal communicator, and tell me a bit about The Gal Speaks.
Sure. So, as you know, I'm Marybeth Haines. A lot of people know me as the gal who speaks with animals.
Mhm.
Um, so what I do is I'm a conduit. I'm a vessel that helps animals and humans interact with each other, be able
Mhm.
to communicate with each other. I also work with animals on a healing level, where I have animals that will reach out to me who are wanting assistance or support in healing of various aspects. It's not unusual to be woken up in the middle of the night or very early morning having this, and I'm okay with that. I've actually given them permission to do so, and so that's kind of what I do. Now, how I got here is another story.
Uh-huh.
How I got here, when I was two, my mother and father bought a hobby farm. And so my brother, sister, and I grew up on 25 acres of land. If you name an animal, chances are we had it as a pet. And our parents taught us that when you treat an animal with with love and with what they need, they'll give back to you. And they really did in so many ways. And I remember being really little, and I remember having these animals where I'd be their teacher and I would be teaching them things. And little did I know, it was really reversed. They were my teachers. And when I look back on it now, there's so much that these animals taught me. So, do you know, Reagan, how I remember being in school, and I remember, um, what do you want to do when you grow up?
Yes.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
Hmm.
Well, I had
Definitely.
no clue. I
Uh,
had no clue. I never knew. And so, I went to college, and I did things, and I worked with people with developmental disabilities, and then I moved over to accounting, and then I went into the travel business, and then I kind of bounced around some different spots. And
yeah.
it wasn't until my 40s that I finally found what I want to do when I grow up.
Right.
And this is where I feel I'm home.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
it does. It does, certainly. I remember when I was a kid, I thought I was going to be a veterinarian,
Yeah.
but I soon discovered that, well, science classes as a class, as an educational form, didn't engage me at all. And I worked in a vet clinic when I was older, a couple actually, and I very much discovered that yes, I want to work with animals in some way in addition to my other creative pursuits, but I did not want to work with them in a clinical setting. It was sometimes downright heartbreaking, and certainly almost all the time stressful. And the energy there just was not for me. Not that I don't fully respect and love veterinarians and what they do, because certainly they are absolutely necessary. But I just, ugh, and then that's eventually just searching around, working in a pet store, working with groomers. Somebody suggested massage therapy to me, which also led me to Reiki later, and that's the way I do prefer working with animals. So, along in a similar vein as you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I love the work that you do. I
Oh,
think
thank
just
you.
think it's
Thank you so
absolutely amazing.
much. Thank you.
Yeah.
So tell me about the Gal Speaks. Is that your website based on your how people know you?
Yeah, so it's really interesting because Well, we talked a little bit about how I got into communicating with animals, but I didn't really explain how that all happened. And so, to make a long story short, because I kind of
Mhm.
told you the beginning of my life and growing up,
Yes.
I've always had a special connection with animals, and
Mhm.
there was always a special communication with them as well.
Mhm.
And it just got to the point where things became stronger and stronger in being able to have that communication, and then all of a sudden hearing their messages and being able to, it's almost like they helped me on my path to be able to find that aspect where we can communicate with each other.
Mhm.
And so when you ask about the gal speak, so when I worked in corporate executive position for several years and
Mhm.
loved it and thought it was great, but there was something missing from that, where I felt like I kind of had my one foot in the corporate world and the other foot in this animal communication world, and those are two very different worlds,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And so it was the one day I was driving home and I pulled into our parking lot, and all of a sudden I heard this voice, and this voice said, "We have a message for you, Marybeth. Are you open to receive?" And I said, "Okay, yeah, sure, and no message came. And so I thought, what the heck's going on here, right? And it's not uncommon for me to connect with spirit or connect with source or, that type of thing at that time, but no message came. So I thought, okay, well, I'll just let it go. So again, continuing working in the corporate world. And then all of a sudden, 2 years later, I got the same thing again. And this time I said, okay, last time I said yes, I didn't hear anything. This time I'm ready. I really would like to know. And so I had a connection with a group of beings that called themselves the guardian animals of lightness. So when you take guardian animals of lightness, GAL, gal.
Yeah.
And so I would connect with them, and they asked if I would be open to partnering with them in helping animals in a variety of ways, and helping humans and animals together on this earth.
Right.
And so this time I was ready, and I said, yes, absolutely. So that's kind of a short version. There's a lot more to it,
Yeah.
but that's kind of the short version of where GAL has come from. So
Okay.
when I was originally looking for a website, I thought, well, I'll just call it Gal Speaks, Guardian Animals of Lightness Speaks. And my
Right.
husband said to me, well, you know what? You're the one that's speaking. You're
Mhm.
the one that's, so why don't you say the Gal Speaks? Because then it's a kind of a play on words. I'm a gal
Mhm.
and I connect with Gal, and together we work with animals and humans in a variety of ways.
Oh, very, very, very cool. Now, just switching gears a little bit, you're also a
Sure.
speaker, a consultant, a grief specialist. Could you tell me what these things involve? And
Sure.
are you also a Reiki practitioner?
So I do have my master, Reiki level
Reiki
3.
master. Yeah.
And I work with another energy, and I don't know if you've heard of it before, but it's called Aqualead.
I don't know if I have actually. Tell me
Okay.
about that.
Okay. So Aqualead is it's a very separate energy from Reiki.
Okay.
However, they both work very nicely together. They're
Ah.
very, very nice in their merging together. And with Aqualead, there's actually a symbol in there where it helps build connection and communication with animals and sentient beings. And so I work with that too, in being able to send healing and various aspects when it comes to working with humans and animals.
You,
So
sorry, not to interrupt, but do you find when you send healing to animals and humans you, that also the opportunity opens up for communication there as well? Like, do you get messages basically?
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. Because when we become a vehicle or a vessel or a conduit of that energy, so when we're sending Reiki through,
Yes.
right, we know it's not us. It's our bodies that are allowing that energy to come through, and we are channeling that energy through.
Yes.
Well, that's energy, and so is communication.
Patient.
Animal communication is energy as well.
Yes.
So it does work in the same way, because when you're in that space of energy and there's that transference of energy,
Right.
that is what animal communication is a
Yes.
transference of energy from one to the other.
Right. So
So
it's a natural time for it to happen as well. You happen to be sending the healing energy. But then you get communication as well.
that's right. And when you do send, with you being a Reiki practitioner as well, when you
Mhm.
send that through, if you're having a really hectic, chaotic day and your mind's full of many different things, for you to be able to send that, to send Reiki energy through, it kind of doesn't work that way, right? You need to be in that space. You need to
Yes.
be in that moment where things are calm and things are centered and focused. And so when you do that, that opens up our superconscious mind to be able to tap into the other things that we can't normally do when our minds are very, very busy.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you. So now tell me about you as a speaker and a consultant and a grief specialist. What does that all
Sure.
involve?
So what I do is I do speaking engagements at different things. Sometimes it'll be a blessing of animals, or maybe service, as because I am a reverend as well. So
Mm.
doing a service for when an animal passes, or remembrance, National Pet Memorial Day,
No.
and that type of thing. And as a grief specialist, those are what my books are focused on as well, is that I've written books on helping people heal when their pet passes away, because our animals, they're our family, they're our friends, they are our teachers, they are our companions. And when we experience their death, I like to say, when they return back home to the light, it's something that can affect us very deeply.
Mhm.
And it's one of my passions to be able to support others that are going through that grief, that loss, because it's something that's very real, and it's something that is sometimes very hard to move through. And coming from a personal experience in my life and having to go through that more than once, it's something that I found that I really wanted to help others in. So that's what I speak about. That's one of the things that I speak about, and those are some of the things that I do in my consulting and as a grief specialist.
And people can find you for these things at thegalspeaks.
They can, thegalspeaks.com.
Mhm.
And I have a specific website specifically with grief resources, and I give a free copy of my book, downloadable version of that, and that's at powerofpets365.com.
Okay, and we'll also I will put links to various things in this blog
Sure,
as
thank
well,
you.
so people can find you easily, find your resources and books easily. So
Thank
awesome.
you.
Now, getting back to animal communication. So, what does it mean to be an animal communicator? How does one truly communicate with animals beyond things like what a lot of lay people might think animal communication involves, like reading body language, or actually literally giving vocal commands and stuff like that, or teaching your husky to say hi 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 hi.
You did that very well.
So if I had to talk to them that way, I could. So what
Love
is
it.
real animal communication?
So animal communication, and I mentioned a little bit before, it's a transference of energy. So let's look at, well, first of all, before we start anywhere,
Okay.
everybody, every single person on this planet can do this. So even though there may be a fancy title of animal communicator or something like that, everybody can do this. It's just a matter of connecting with the tools that we have at our disposal, but we don't often realize that they're there, right? So number one, everybody can do this.
Cool.
Now the question is, do you want to do this? And
Yes.
if you don't, that's okay, right? But if you do, you can absolutely do this. So energy is, if we were to look at, well, in order for us to connect here on Zoom, to connect here on this platform, we need to be connected I need to have an internet connection.
Yes.
You need to have an internet connection. And then that allows us to be able to connect and see each other and talk here and all of that stuff, right?
No matter our location.
No matter our location. And we're, you know, a couple hours away from each other. So it's there and it's working for us. Now we don't see that connection.
No.
I don't see some sort of connection going all the way to where you are, right? And coming out your side of your computer and then coming out mine. But we do know it's there, right? Otherwise we wouldn't be able to see and talk to each other.
That's right.
Well, energy works the same way. So if we weren't doing this here on video and you were calling me on the phone, you might take your phone and dial my number. And then again, it's going to say it's your cell phone and it's going to my cell phone. It's going to connect to the tower, to connect to the whatever, to be able to get to me.
Yes.
Again, that's energy. We don't see it, but we understand that it works because we wouldn't be able to talk to each other on the phone.
Exactly.
Right? So does that kind of make sense?
It does.
So when you think about the energy, we may not see it, but it is there. Yes. And scientists have proven that energy cannot be destroyed.
Yes.
But it can change form. So we are all made up of energy.
Yes.
This body that looks solid is all made up of energy. And so everything is energy. So when we start to understand that, and don't worry, it's no big, long physics type of thing where, you know, it's just understanding that we are all energy. And I think we can all agree upon that.
Yes.
When we open up the door to allow the energy to come through from another being, such as an animal, we can start to hear their messages in many ways. Now, it could be hearing them like I often do. I'll hear an animal talk just like you and I are talking right now.
Right.
I can have a conversation that way. Other times I may feel something from them, right? So I'm not hearing words, but I'm actually feeling an emotion or a feeling or something like that. Other times I may hear something. Right? I may hear something that sounds like the opening of a canned food, or right? You know, those
we get that a lot, actually.
Yeah.
They're very focused on that kind of thing.
Yes. Yes.
At least dogs are, I find. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, you know, and then visuals and things like that. So it just depends on what is our strongest method of being able to receive these messages. So I think I might be going a little bit too far into what you were asking, but your question was, let me just make sure that I'm staying on track here.
Yes, no problem. What does it mean to be an animal communicator? Said that too quickly. And how does one truly communicate with animals? So we were talking about the energy bit. That's how.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And
that's exactly, pardon?
And what does it mean, I guess, is the part to you anyway, to be an animal communicator? What does it mean to you?
To me, what does being an animal communicator mean? It means being able to connect on a level that is different from what we understand as communication.
Yes. So
we understand communication as speaking, saying words, our body language. When we're talking to our animals, we may have commands that we share with them. Yes. We may let them know it's time for dinner and they know exactly what that means. We may find that their ears go back, or that their tail goes between their legs, or, you know, those types of things. And that all is part of communicating with an animal. It absolutely is. This takes it a little bit further as an animal communicator. Well, kind of a lot further, but step by step, you get to there, and you begin to be able to connect with them on an energetic and psychic level. And when you do that, you are able to receive the messages from them in the different ways that I mentioned, whether it's visual, auditory, feeling, etc.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Great. Now, I should mention here, we can communicate with animals that are here with us now, that are at a distance from us, like we were discussing, distance Reiki, distance energy work and such, and those that have passed on, correct?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And the only difference from an animal that is say here on Earth,
Mhm.
right? You're communicating with them that way. If an animal is in spirit, in heaven, and wherever it is that you might like to say, in the light, it's still using that same thing. But instead of that psychic energy that you're connecting with that animal on through energy, you're actually connecting on a different medium, right? You're doing it through mediumship, and you're connecting with them on the spirit realm. So the
Right.
messages become downloaded within, and again can come through by hearing or seeing, like visual or feeling. It still comes through the same way. You're just connecting through a different channel.
Right.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
because they are on a different plane. So
that's
therefore,
right.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
Okay. But it is possible to do that. And I think it's important that people know this isn't just about animals or people, conscious beings that are sentient beings that are present here, but also those that have passed on. They have not stopped. They they are still, with us, present, just, a nudge to the left, that that's
A
slightly
nudge to
parallel.
the left. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
again, remembering that thing about energy, how it cannot
Cannot
it
be destroyed.
cannot be destroyed.
Yeah,
But it can change form.
that's right.
So
Yeah.
when the animals do go into the light or go to heaven, etc.,
Mhm.
their energy still is. It's just changed its form.
That's right.
And
Okay.
same with us as humans.
Yes, which of course is a big part of your specializing in grief and counseling and so forth like that. I assume, and I myself find that very comforting. Of course, I
Mhm.
mean, it's you always want them back here with you. There's that part of you that just wants them physically present, but
Yes.
it is still comforting to know they're not gone.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. We as humans, we're very tangible. We want to see, we
Mhm.
want to touch, we want to have that tangible experience, and so that's part of why it's so hard,
Yes.
because we don't have that tangible experience. Opening up through this type of communication with our beloved animals that are in spirit, it's just such a blessing. Their messages of love that they're open and willing to share with us.
Mm, awesome. Now, could you share with me, us, people who are watching, some tips on communicating with animals, ways to deepen the bond with the
Mhm.
animals that we have physically with us now and those that have passed into the light? Um, and then I have a little bit more, but I'll keep it at that for now. Would you be willing to share some tips?
Absolutely. So this is where things get fun, because
Mm.
this is where you can deepen your bond and your relationship with the animals in your life. So let's say you have a dog or a cat, or in my case, I have a bearded dragon named Darwin. I have a furry little
Oh,
guy named Nemo. He's a Chihuahua, and so whether they are furry or finned or scaled or what have you, it could even be a wild animal outside. If
right,
you feel a connection with them, there's a reason for that.
right. Yes.
So to be able to communicate with them, let's start really simple. Let's look at what are some ways that you can deepen that bond and relationship. And it doesn't necessarily just mean to deepen that bond and relationship. It means to open up the door, open up the space, so that this communication can deepen, can strengthen. And the first thing is setting an intention,
Uh-huh.
right? So if I hadn't, if you hadn't communicated with me and we hadn't set a time for this time together for us to talk here, it wouldn't have happened, because we wouldn't have set the intention, right? We needed to plan it and make it work,
Yes.
and that's what we did. Well, communicating is no different. So it's asking yourself, what would you like to see come from communicating with your dog, your cat, whoever it is in your life,
Mhm.
and set that intention.
Okay.
When you set the intention, you create the space to make it happen. And I highly, highly invite you to write it down. Write down what your intention is. Because when you write it down, there's something that our minds do when we physically do it.
It gets it in there. It
It
etches.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it absolutely does. So once you've set your intention, again, let's start simple. There's some really fun things that you can do. And if anybody wants to go to thegalspeaks.com, go under free resources, and you'll see that you can get this book that I've written on 7 ways that you can incorporate these fun activities to be able to strengthen this bond. And it's for free for anybody who might like it. But let's talk about just a couple quick things that you can do. So you have a relationship with your animal right now, and there's things that you have routines with them, you have your own routines in the home. What can you add in there that could be time for just you and them? And if you have a family, all of you together as a family. So let's say this is my water glass, but it looks like a jar. So let's pretend that this is an empty jar
Yes.
with a lid, right? You could take something like this and get a whole bunch of pieces of paper, and everybody in the family writes down something about, and let's imagine that it's a dog named Rover. So let's write down something about Rover that we love, we appreciate, we respect what Rover teaches us, and we're going to write it down and we're going to put it in the jar. And maybe we do that each night for a few nights, and then come the weekend when we kind of have that time where we can sit together, we're going to sit with Rover and we're going to pull them out and we're going to read Rover the message, the lesson, the gift, and who it was from. So everybody can kind of take a turn and do that. Doing things like that not only brings you guys together closer, but it strengthens the bond. Mm-hmm. And when Rover's feeling this energy and knows, he knows already what's going on. But when he feels this, you guys come together and tangibly, actively do this, it creates that closer bond together. So it's things like that that you can do, right?
Yeah.
And then from there, it's now going, okay, so now what did I notice different? What happened there? Why is Rover looking into my eyes a little longer now?
Yeah.
Why is it that I'm feeling this love in my heart every time we go for our walk now? That wasn't there before. Mm-hmm. Right? And it's starting to notice these things and starting small and building from there. Okay. Now, there's a lot more that we can get into, but mm-hmm. just starting there mm-hmm. and building from there, it's like yes. step by step, can really open that up. So mm-hmm. setting your intention, writing it down, and then start creating the space to make it happen.
Right.
Okay. And then I'll just share one more thing. Yeah. Spending that time, having that time with Rover, making sure that that is your special time with him, making sure that that is the time that you guys are connecting together. Maybe you're reading a book and he's lying there with you. Maybe you're going for a walk together, but what can you do to be more mindful of that? So instead of going for a walk, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this, I'm just saying, and instead of going for a walk and looking at your phone, why don't you go for a walk and be present with Rover?
Yes.
Right? What's he looking at? What's he saying to you? And then see how you're building that bond and that connection. And then from there, you know, I think we need a lot more time to share, but there's other things that you can do, but we can't get to that piece until we get the foundation built first.
Right. Right. So, yeah. Okay. Well, we should probably do this again, maybe in a few months, and maybe expand upon things, especially.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because there's so much, obviously, as you know, you're scratching the surface just now, as you're saying, a place to start, but something to go on. But now, from that, how do you specifically help people who have lost a pet, or they perhaps urgently need to communicate with a pet that is no longer on this plane? What are some tips for grieving people, I suppose, to communicate?
Well, the first thing is giving yourself that permission to be able to allow the grieving, because we live in a world where things are very fast paced, and some people may understand why we are sad and other people may not get it as much, right? And I truly believe that they don't get it because they've never received that type of love from an animal before. So they just don't understand it yet.
Yeah.
And so it's having that support. So giving yourself permission to be able to do that. Because when we give ourselves permission and we allow ourselves, again, setting that intention in that space, the healing from our animal, the loving messages from our animals can come through. I've had a lot of people say to me, I keep trying, I keep asking for messages and I'm not getting anything. And a lot of times it's because they are at a vibration of sadness where it's hard to allow a higher vibration to come through, because to be able to receive those messages, they do come from a certain vibration, a certain resonance. And so sometimes we're so sad that messages are coming through, I promise you, but we're just not at that vibration yet to be able to acknowledge that that's what that message was. Or maybe it was something so subtle. Maybe we felt love from that animal that's in spirit, but it made us sad and we started to cry and we thought, here I go again, like this is so hard. But we didn't realize that that really was Fluffy sending her love to us.
Yeah.
Right? So it's working that way. Something that you can do is before you go to bed, write a little note to Fluffy and just say, Fluffy, please come to me in my dreams.
Yes.
Please come to me with a message of love. Please show me that you are here with, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then you may need to do it several nights in a row, because we dream a lot and we don't remember all our dreams.
Yes. Yeah. Dreams are tricky.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But remember too that Fluffy will come through and is coming through, and it's just a matter of being able to identify those cues. So, you know, just really quickly, one example I had was, I remember when my guy Kitty died, and you can tell by his name what kind of animal he was. So he was just such a loving boy. And when he passed, it was so hard. And the very next day, I kept finding dimes everywhere. And at that point, I didn't understand that dimes were a message from spirit. So feathers, dimes, music, certain songs will come on the radio, those types of things. And so
especially repetition, no?
Yeah,
absolutely.
like
in repetition, especially when you see something a lot. Yeah, okay.
Absolutely. And so in this instance, I was finding all these dimes, and it was the very next day. And then I realized, oh my gosh, Kitty, thank you. You know, but it took me to realize that that was him. And so it's taking that connection, remembering that the energy has changed, but is not gone. So the energy has changed its form, and it's just connecting with that energy. And one of the best gifts that you can give yourself, especially if you're mourning a pet that's in spirit, is to give yourself permission. Give yourself permission to heal. Give yourself permission to cry. Give yourself permission. Reach out. There's a group that we have on Facebook. It's called Amongst Friends. And that's exactly what it is. It's a group of friends that will connect in this private group, that you can share anything that you wish, and they're there to listen. We're there to share, to heal, and do it together, just like true friends would do. And so if anybody wants to do that, just go to Facebook, go to Amongst Friends. I think it's under Amongst Friends Niagara, but it's not limited to Niagara.
Okay.
The region of Niagara. And we have people there from the Netherlands and US and all over the world. And it's a wonderful space to come to. So give yourself permission, opening up that space for healing and allowing that energetic message and love from your animal, from spirit, to be able to come through.
And I will have the link. So you don't even have to, remember that?
Awesome.
So you can find that group easily. But, as a Reiki practitioner, you've discussed how the energies are similar. That communication comes through. The reason I asked you that was because now that I'm doing more distance Reiki sessions, especially with this COVID-19 stuff going on, it's distance Reiki. I'm sending through healing energy as needed, but I'm also getting messages from. So I kind of wanted to clarify that for myself, that was normal, possible, all that good stuff.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah, because you've opened that channel,
Yes.
so you already are in a space of being able to send that healing energy of Reiki, and then within that energy that creates that space, because you've opened that channel to be able to communicate with animals, and you do very well with it, by the way. And so having those messages come through, that's a wonderful addition to the support that you provide.
Oh, and I discussed with one of my clients. We went live recently, and I had a particularly strong connection with her dog, and got a lot of her feelings. And things like that. She's a dog that if she had a sleeve, I'd said she would wear her heart on it for sure. Wonderful dog. So she was particularly grateful because she was saying, as an animal mom, you don't just want, if the healing is great, but if you also get some information about your animal as well, some validation sometimes, because she has a strong connection with her dog as well. So it was just icing bonus, lots of extra stuff that is can help guide her to know that she isn't crazy about how she was feeling about the energy she was getting about her animal and stuff like that. So anyway, very cool, very useful.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And before we go, I was wondering, you've talked about your 3 books a little bit. Is there anything more you wanted to say about them? But I'll have links and everything like that, that you wanted to share about them. And then I was hoping you might do a short guided meditation.
Oh, I would love to. I would love to.
Terrific.
And this will be impromptu as well. So we'll connect, we'll set the intention, and then we'll see what can come through. So beautiful. So about the books, there's 2 books on healing from the death of a pet for adults. Yes. The one is The Power of Pets, and it's 7 effective tools to heal from pet loss. That book is available in physical format. It's right here. So it looks like this, but you can also get a downloadable copy for free as my gift. So if anybody goes to powerpets365.com, you'll see on the top right hand corner, you can get the copy of the book, and there's also a 5-week healing program for those who would like to do that as well. And it's free. It's completely my gift. So there's no hidden costs or anything like that. It's all there. And the second book for adults is called From Empty to Empowered. And this book actually helps you heal when your pet has passed away quickly, suddenly, or unexpectedly. And the third one is the one that I co-authored with my sister because she is a professional ventriloquist. And so these are the puppets that she works with. So this is Mcgraw the bird and Kamila the frog. And in this book for children, Kamila and Mcgraw take the child on a journey. And they go on a journey of healing from the loss of their pet. And so it's something that is a great resource for parents to be able to share with their children. So
you've got a lot of resources, and you're very generous with them. I'm very grateful for that.
Oh, thank you. I love giving. I love providing gifts. I just think it's something that's normal and natural to do. And, if in any way that I could be of support, it's my heart's intention to do so. So thank you for saying that.
Oh, no problem. I mean it. Therefore I say it.
Okay, so our intention is to set up a meditation to be able to connect with the animals in our lives.
Yes.
And so if you have water near you, I invite you to take a drink of water.
Okay. I have
water goes, if you don't, that's okay. Water goes into our cells and it really helps the connection. Water is a conduit of energy. So I just invite everybody to close their eyes. Just take a deep breath. And do it again. And just really focus on your breathing. Breath is so important for life. We need to remember to expand, because when we expand our breath, we actually expand things that we wish to have in our lives. And in this instance, we want to be able to communicate with animals. We want to be able to communicate with the animals that are in our lives. And as you just take one more breath, just take a pause. When you breathe in and pause, notice that still point. And then breathe out. And notice that still point before your next breath in. That still point, or that point, can bring us into presence. It can bring us into the space of being here and now. And that's really important. And so I invite you to think of the animal or an animal in your life if you have more than one. You may wish to see them in your mind's eye. You may wish to say their name out loud. You may wish to just feel them, know that they're there. Whatever works for you is the best way for you. So go with that. And as you keep breathing, I want you to envision the love you feel for this particular animal. And when this animal looks back at you, what do you feel from them, from love? What would it feel like to receive that love? What would it look like to receive that love? What do you sense from that animal being in your life? And as you do that, just stay in that space for just a moment. That connection, that bond. Receiving feelings, thoughts, pictures in your mind, or just simple sensing of knowing. And then with a deep breath, just move your fingers and your toes, and open your eyes when you're ready. And just take a nice release of a breath. So we did that very quickly, but that's something that could be expanded out more. And I'd be happy to record one for you to share if you want. That would be longer.
That would be terrific.
That you can share. And then we can take it from there. How was that?
That was lovely and relaxing.
Good.
And warm.
Awesome. Yeah, warm. It does get the heat going. Yeah.
Warmth, because they are also, when I'm thinking of them, warm and near me. So therefore, you feel extra.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Marybeth, for talking with me today and chatting with whoever's watching.
Yes, you're so welcome. And thank you for having me, Reagan. And hello to everybody. Much love to you and your animal friends and family. And looking forward to the next time.
Yes, me too.